Have you ever noticed how some men walk into a room and women's eyes can't leave them, even when they say nothing? It's not luck, it's strategy. Today, I'm going to reveal 10 subtle questions you can ask that awaken desire in ways she won't even understand. These aren't just conversation starters, they're triggers, designed to make her think about you in secret, crave your presence, and wonder why she feels pulled toward you. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago: control through subtlety, power through silence. Watch closely, because once you master these questions, your influence will become invisible yet irresistible. Question 1. The curiosity trigger. What's something you've never told anyone? This single question may seem simple at first glance, but its power lies in the psychological principle of curiosity and vulnerability. When you ask a woman something she has never shared with anyone, you are not just asking a question, you are inviting her into a rare space of trust and intimacy. Humans have a deep desire to feel seen and understood, and when someone shows genuine interest in their hidden thoughts, it triggers a potent mix of emotions. Suddenly, she is not just responding to a question, she is revealing herself mentally and emotionally, something most people guard fiercely. The beauty of this question is that it allows her to open her mind without feeling pressured. She experiences a subtle thrill in sharing something personal with someone she perceives as trustworthy and intriguing. This moment creates a psychological bond because her brain begins to associate the act of vulnerability with your presence. When someone shares a secret, their brain releases oxytocin, the hormone linked to trust and attachment. This chemical response forms a mental connection that lingers long after the conversation ends. In simple terms, by listening and allowing her to reveal herself, you are embedding yourself into her thoughts, making her think about you secretly without her even realizing why. From a Machiavellian perspective, this question is pure strategy. Machiavelli emphasized the subtle control of influence, not through force, but through psychological positioning. By being the person she opens up to, you are claiming a position of emotional authority in her mind. She begins to respect and value your presence, often more than anyone else's, because you are now associated with her innermost thoughts and secrets. This is the foundation of invisible influence. She does not feel manipulated, but the bond is already forming. This is not about interrogation, it is about creating an irresistible psychological pull. When a woman shares something deeply personal, she experiences a subtle shift. She feels closer, more connected, and increasingly intrigued. You become more than just a casual acquaintance. Your presence becomes a mental and emotional landmark in her daily thoughts. The curiosity trigger also plays into a deeper philosophical truth. Humans are naturally drawn to those who allow them to express themselves fully. By asking this question, you are giving her the freedom to be truly seen, a rare and irresistible quality. Over time, this repeated mental investment amplifies desire. She does not even realize it yet, but you are already shaping her thoughts, planting seeds of attraction and longing through one simple, masterful question. In essence, what's something you've never told anyone is not just a question. It is a tool of subtle influence, emotional intimacy, and Machiavellian strategy. When asked correctly, it has the power to make her think about you continuously, build subconscious attraction, and establish a bond that feels natural, inevitable, and quietly compelling. Question 2. The mystery hook. If you could live one day over again, which day would it be and why? At first glance, this question may appear like a casual conversation starter, but its true power lies in its ability to evoke reflection, nostalgia, and emotion. By asking a woman to choose a day she would relive, you are subtly prompting her to dive deep into her memories, relive her experiences, and connect emotionally in a way that most casual conversations never allow. Humans are naturally drawn to introspection and moments that shape them. When she engages with this question, she is not only thinking about her past, but is linking those memories to you. The psychological impact of this question is profound. When a person shares meaningful memories, their brain releases oxytocin and dopamine, chemicals associated with trust, emotional bonding, and pleasure. As she explains why that day was important, she experiences a subtle thrill of being understood and heard. In her mind, you are no longer just someone she's talking to. You become a witness to her inner world, someone who sparks thought and curiosity. She begins to associate her emotional depth with your presence, creating a subconscious attraction that builds silently but powerfully. From a Machiavellian perspective, this question works because it casts you as mysterious, thoughtful, and emotionally intelligent. Women are naturally drawn to men who appear to understand more than they reveal, men who spark curiosity without forcing it. By guiding her to reflect, you appear to hold a deeper understanding of life and human nature, which creates the perception that you are rare and intriguing, qualities that are inherently magnetic. Moreover, the act of reflection creates a mental and emotional imprint. When she shares a day that impacted her deeply, she experiences a subtle bond forming with you. Over time, she will recall that conversation and feel a quiet pull, wondering why she feels a connection that is both personal and mysterious. This is the essence of invisible influence. She does not consciously realize that her attraction is growing, but the seeds are planted with every carefully crafted question you ask. This question taps into a universal human desire, the wish to understand one's own life and the significance of personal experiences. By inviting her to explore this with you, you position yourself as a mental companion and emotional anchor, someone who allows her mind and heart to open freely. This creates an invisible thread of fascination and longing, subtly drawing her closer without any overt effort. In essence, if you could live one day over again, which day would it be and why? Is far more than a question. It is a tool of subtle Machiavellian strategy. It makes her think, feel, and associate meaningful emotions with you. You become the man who evokes reflection, mystery, and emotional resonance, sparking attraction quietly but irreversibly. Question 3. The challenge question. Do you think you'd survive in a world without rules? On the surface, this question may seem simple, even playful, but its true power lies in its ability to provoke thought, imagination, and subtle tension. When you ask a woman this, you are not just asking about survival, you are inviting her to explore her independence, resourcefulness, and inner strength. This is a question that challenges her perception of herself, prompting her to consider how she reacts when the familiar boundaries of life disappear. Women are naturally drawn to men who can engage their mind and challenge their assumptions, because attraction is rarely built on looks alone. It grows from intellectual stimulation and emotional resonance. The psychological mechanics behind this are fascinating. When someone is prompted to imagine a scenario that tests their survival instincts, her mind begins to simulate responses, analyze strategies, and project possibilities. This mental engagement is not random. It creates a sense of mental tension, a subtle pull that increases focus and attention. As she contemplates your question, she becomes increasingly aware of your presence in that mental space. Simply put, her brain begins to associate your voice, your question, and the energy you project with the excitement and challenge of this imagined world. From a Machiavellian perspective, this is classic invisible influence. Niccolo Machiavelli understood that real power is not about forcing outcomes, it is about shaping thought. By asking this question, you are positioning yourself as someone who sparks reflection and tests boundaries, making you appear confident, intriguing, and rare. She doesn't feel pressured. Instead, she is mentally drawn to your presence because you have introduced a scenario that stimulates her curiosity, independence, and imagination simultaneously. This question taps into a primal human attraction, the admiration of strength, resilience, and resourcefulness. When a woman imagines herself navigating a lawless world, she is not only exploring her own inner capabilities, but she is also imagining how a man who asks this would fit into such a world. Subconsciously, she begins to associate you with qualities of courage, intelligence, and strategic thinking, traits that create a powerful, silent form of attraction. Furthermore, the challenge element introduces a subtle tension that is chemically and emotionally compelling. Humans are wired to pay attention to problem solving and risk assessment, and your question leverages this instinct. She is intrigued, engaged, and unknowingly experiencing a heightened emotional connection with you, all triggered by a single, carefully crafted question. Do you think you'd survive in a world without rules? Is not just a question, it is a tool of mental stimulation, philosophical intrigue, and Machiavellian influence. It makes her think deeply, sparks subtle emotional tension, and positions you as a man who can engage her mind, curiosity, and subconscious attraction simultaneously. By the end of this exchange, she will have begun to associate fascination and desire with your presence, long before she consciously realizes it. Question 4. The secret desire. What's something you've always wanted but never dared to try? On the surface, this may seem like a simple question about ambition or curiosity, but its true power lies in its ability to unlock her hidden fantasies, unspoken dreams, and secret desires. By asking this, you are not merely making conversation. You are creating a space where she feels safe to reveal her inner world, something few people ever get to see. Humans have a natural desire to be understood and acknowledged, especially for the parts of themselves that are private, daring, or unexplored. When she shares these thoughts with you, even subtly, she begins to form an emotional connection rooted in trust, intrigue, and admiration. Psychologically, this question taps into the principle of vulnerability and curiosity. When a person shares a dream or desire they've kept hidden, their brain releases oxytocin, the hormone of bonding and trust, while simultaneously engaging dopamine pathways linked to reward and excitement. This combination creates a mental link between you and the positive, thrilling feeling of self-expression. Essentially, by listening and showing subtle interest, you become a mental and emotional anchor for her fantasies. She starts associating you with safety, excitement, and the thrill of possibilities she's never dared to explore before. From a Machiavellian perspective, this question is an elegant exercise in subtle influence and invisible control. Machiavelli understood that true power is not about force or dominance, it is about guiding perception and emotion. By encouraging her to reveal something deeply personal, you position yourself as the keeper of her secret world. She experiences trust, curiosity, and desire simultaneously, and because you are linked to this revelation, her subconscious begins to value your presence and influence more than anyone else's. Philosophically, this question speaks to the universal human drive toward self-actualization and freedom. Everyone has ambitions, fantasies, and risks they've never dared to take. When you ask her to share hers, you are acknowledging her individuality, independence, and courage. This subtle recognition strengthens attraction because it signals that you are not merely observing her externally, you are engaging with her inner universe. Moreover, this question creates an irresistible dynamic. The combination of her vulnerability and your composed, attentive response fosters a quiet tension that sparks desire. She experiences a unique pleasure in opening up to someone who is capable of holding her secrets without judgment. Desire, in this context, grows naturally where vulnerability meets curiosity, and you are the one who facilitates that meeting. In essence, what's something you've always wanted but never dared to try is far more than a question. It is a tool of emotional intimacy, subtle influence, and Machiavellian strategy. It allows her to reveal herself safely, links her emotions and imagination to your presence, and positions you as the man who understands, appreciates, and quietly fascinates. By asking this question, you plant a seed of desire that grows without effort, invisibly shaping her thoughts and feelings toward you over time. Question 5. The flattery of the mind. What's the smartest decision you've ever made? This question is simple, but it carries a powerful psychological effect. When you ask a woman this, you are not just asking about her past choices, you are highlighting her intelligence, wisdom, and decision-making skills. Everyone wants to feel admired and respected, but direct compliments can feel shallow or forced. By phrasing it as a question, you allow her to admire herself in your presence, while you remain calm, composed, and subtly influential. This works because humans naturally respond to recognition of their competence. When she shares a smart choice she made, her brain releases dopamine, creating a pleasurable feeling. She begins associating that positive feeling with you, because you created the moment where she could feel smart and valued. This builds a mental and emotional connection without any overt effort. You are not telling her she is impressive, you are letting her experience it, which makes it far more powerful. From a Machiavellian perspective, this question is about subtle influence. Machiavelli taught that power comes from perception, not force. By asking her to reflect on her intelligence, you position yourself as a man who respects and values her mind. Respect and attraction are closely linked. When she feels mentally admired, her subconscious attraction grows quietly. She begins to associate you with intellect, insight, and confidence, the traits that make a man rare and magnetic. This question also works on a deeper emotional level. Women want partners who see their strengths, acknowledge their abilities, and value their decisions. By asking this question, you are showing that you notice her mind, not just her appearance or charm. This subtle form of flattery strengthens desire while keeping it under the surface, building a slow-burning attraction that feels natural and irresistible. What's the smartest decision you've ever made? Is more than a question. It is a tool of subtle psychological influence. It makes her feel recognized, admired, and respected without overt flattery. By creating this mental and emotional connection, you quietly ignite attraction and respect simultaneously, making her think about you in ways she may not even realize. Question 6. The emotional hook. When do you feel most alive? On the surface, this may seem like a casual question, but its real power lies in how it awakens emotions and imagination. When you ask a woman this, you are inviting her to explore moments in her life when she felt excitement, passion, or pure joy. These are the moments that define her energy and her desires. By prompting her to reflect on these feelings, you are subtly connecting yourself to the emotional peaks of her life, which creates a strong, lasting mental impression. Psychologically, this works because humans are naturally drawn to emotional intensity. Our brains remember feelings far more vividly than facts or words. When she talks about moments that made her feel alive, she is reliving the thrill, excitement, or intensity, and she begins to link that emotional experience to your presence. In essence, she starts imagining you alongside those experiences, even if you haven't been part of them yet. This is a subtle form of mental attraction. She is emotionally engaging with you before anything physical happens. From a Machiavellian perspective, this question is a strategic tool of invisible influence. Machiavelli taught that the mind is the battlefield of power and attraction. By creating a space for emotional reflection, you position yourself as someone who understands depth, feels emotion, and inspires imagination. She begins to associate you with intensity and vitality, qualities that naturally trigger desire. You are no longer just a man she talks to, you are a presence that evokes strong, memorable feelings. This question taps into the idea that humans are defined by moments of life that make them feel alive. By guiding her to recall and share these moments, you align yourself with her inner passions and desires, establishing a connection that feels intimate and personal. This type of attraction is invisible yet incredibly powerful. It is not based on superficial charm, but on the subtle link between emotion and mental engagement. The magic of this question is that it creates a memory loop. She will not only remember the moments she described, but also remember the man who asked the question and prompted those feelings. Emotional triggers like this are remembered long after conversations end. Desire, after all, is often rooted in how someone makes you feel, not just what they say. When do you feel most alive is far more than a question. It is a gateway into emotional attraction, subtle influence, and Machiavellian strategy. It allows her to feel, imagine, and connect mentally, leaving a lasting impression of excitement and curiosity. By the time the conversation ends, she won't just remember the words. She will remember the energy, emotions, and mental pull she experienced with you. Question 7. The imagination game. If you could rewrite one moment in your life, what would it be? This question may seem simple, but it has a subtle and powerful effect. By asking her to reflect on a moment she wishes had gone differently, you are inviting her to engage her imagination and nostalgia. She begins thinking about what could have been, what choices she made, and what feelings were involved. This makes her mentally active and emotionally involved in the conversation while also linking those thoughts to your presence. This works because the mind responds strongly to reflection and what-if scenarios. When she imagines changing a moment in her life, she experiences curiosity, excitement, or even regret, emotions that are much more memorable than ordinary conversation. Her brain starts associating these subtle feelings with you, even though you haven't done anything overt. This is how invisible attraction begins. She is thinking about her past, her emotions, and you as part of that reflection. From a Machiavellian perspective, this is a masterful way to create influence without force. Curiosity plus imagination equals mental engagement, which naturally triggers attraction. She begins to mentally chase you, not consciously, but at a subconscious level, because your presence is tied to the feelings she experiences while answering. If you could rewrite one moment in your life, what would it be? Is more than a question. It's a way to spark imagination, emotion, and subtle desire, making her think about you in ways she doesn't even realize. Question 8. The emotional pull. What scares you the most but excites you at the same time? This question is more than just a conversation starter. It taps into one of the most powerful human experiences, the mix of fear and excitement. When you ask this, you invite her to explore a part of herself that is thrilling, intense, and often hidden. These are the moments that make life feel alive, and by discussing them with you, she begins to associate those intense feelings with your presence. This works because humans are wired to respond strongly to emotional intensity. Fear and excitement trigger adrenaline and dopamine, chemicals that heighten focus and create memorable experiences. When she shares something that scares and excites her, she is reliving that intensity while connecting it to you. This creates a subtle emotional bond, making her think about you long after the conversation ends. From a Machiavellian perspective, this question is a tool of invisible influence. Machiavelli understood that true attraction is rarely forced. It is cultivated through mental and emotional engagement. By linking yourself to intense emotions, you become part of the experiences she finds thrilling or challenging. She doesn't realize it yet, but desire often grows from these high emotion moments. This question also positions you as someone who understands depth and complexity. Most people shy away from these topics, but by calmly and confidently engaging with her fears and excitements, you show that you are rare, composed, and intriguing. She begins to see you as someone who can handle intensity, and subconsciously, that makes you more attractive. What scares you the most, but excites you at the same time? Is more than a question. It's a way to link yourself to emotional intensity, curiosity, and desire. By creating this mix of fear and excitement in her mind, you plant a subtle, lasting attraction that continues to grow without any overt effort on your part. Question 9. The secret admiration. Who inspires you the most, and why? At first glance, this may seem like a simple, polite question, but its real power lies in how it reveals her values, passions, and inner ambitions. When a woman talks about someone who inspires her, she is sharing a part of what she admires, what she strives for, and what qualities she respects. This is a subtle window into her personality, motivations, and deepest ideals. And by listening carefully, you become associated with those qualities in her mind. Psychologically, this works because humans naturally respond to shared admiration and intellectual engagement. When she talks about inspiration, she activates her brain's reward and reflection pathways. By paying attention, asking thoughtful follow-ups, or even showing subtle alignment with her values, you create a mental association between her admiration and your presence. She begins to link ambition, respect, and intellectual curiosity with you without any direct effort on your part. From a Machiavellian perspective, this question is brilliant for invisible influence. Machiavelli emphasized that real attraction comes from perception and strategic positioning, not force. By uncovering her inspirations, you position yourself as someone who understands her ideals, someone she can mentally compare to her role models. This elevates your presence in her mind, subtly creating intellectual and emotional attraction. You become more than just a man she talks to. You become a figure connected to the qualities she values most. This question taps into the human need for meaning and recognition. Everyone wants their ambitions and passions acknowledged. By asking this, you allow her to express herself, admire what she finds meaningful, and feel understood by you. Desire grows quietly in these moments of intellectual and emotional resonance because you are not forcing attraction. You are simply being part of her internal world. Who inspires you the most and why is far more than a conversation starter. It is a subtle tool of influence, admiration, and attraction. You are linking yourself to her values and passions, planting seeds of respect, curiosity, and desire. By the end of this question, she will associate inspiration, ambition, and fascination with you, creating a quiet, irresistible mental pull that grows over time. Question 10. The subtle pull. If we could spend one day doing anything you wanted, what would it be? This question is deceptively simple, but it carries a powerful psychological and emotional impact. By asking her to imagine spending a day with you, you are inviting her to visualize shared experiences, excitement, and possibilities. Visualization is one of the strongest tools for creating subconscious attraction, because when the brain imagines something vividly, it reacts almost as if it were real. In other words, by prompting her to picture a day with you, you are planting the seeds of desire before any action has even taken place. This works because humans are naturally drawn to experiences they anticipate. The brain releases dopamine when imagining positive experiences, which creates pleasure, excitement, and mental engagement. As she imagines the day you could spend together, she is linking those pleasant feelings directly to you. Her subconscious starts associating your presence with adventure, joy, and connection, making her think about you even after the conversation ends. This is the essence of subtle influence. She is drawn to you without realizing why. From a Machiavellian perspective, this question is a strategic masterstroke of invisible attraction. Machiavelli understood that influence often comes from shaping perception and planting ideas rather than forcing them. By encouraging her to mentally place herself with you, you are becoming part of her internal narrative of pleasure and possibility. Desire grows naturally when she begins to picture time with you, creating anticipation and emotional engagement that can be far stronger than words or actions alone. This question taps into the universal human tendency to long for meaningful experiences. When she imagines doing something she enjoys with you, she begins to subconsciously associate freedom, excitement, and fulfillment with your presence. You are not just a man she talks to, you become someone she can envision as part of her life, someone capable of creating memorable experiences. If we could spend one day doing anything you wanted, what would it be? Is more than a question. It is a mental and emotional trigger that cultivates desire, curiosity, and anticipation. By letting her visualize time with you, you plant an invisible attraction in her mind. She begins to want more, think more, and feel more, all linked to your presence. This is the final piece of the Machiavellian puzzle, a question that turns imagination into subconscious desire, leaving her silently, irresistibly drawn to you. These 10 questions aren't just words, they are triggers of thought, emotion, and desire. Ask them wisely, with calm confidence, and you'll notice a shift in how she thinks about you. Silently, secretly, irresistibly. Comment below which question you're going to try first, and watch how subtle influence can change everything. For more Machiavellian strategies to master attraction and influence, subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications, because desire is learned, not found.